I have a video of a lady who is suing social media because of her addiction to it. She's saying, obviously, she started on Instagram, started using YouTube, and these are the sort of apps that gave her some, mental health issues. So there's a little report that, shows a little bit more about what she's going through. And also, I'll have my thoughts later because this one's crazy.
From the 20-year-old woman at the center of a landmark social media addiction trial. The plaintiff, known by her initials KGM, alleges she became addicted to social media apps at a young age, which led to her years-long mental health issues. She claims the companies behind the social media platforms intentionally make their services addictive, despite knowing it could harm children. During her testimony today, she said her social media use prevented her from making friends and caused her to unhealthily compare herself to other people. Meta filed a brief yesterday claiming that KGM's mental health struggles started, quote, well before she began using social media and resulted from a range of factors unrelated to her use of social media. Meta and YouTube are the two remaining defendants in the case after TikTok and Snap settled before the trial started. Dara Kerr joins us now. She's a tech reporter for The Guardian. Dara, thanks for being with us. What else did we learn from KGM's testimony today?
Right. So today we're learning a whole lot because up until now, much of what has happened to KGM has been under seal. So it was something that reporters and I think the general public was really looking forward to hearing more about her story. So KGM said that she started using YouTube at the age of 6 and then Instagram at the age of 9. And by the age of 10, she had fallen into depression and had started doing self-harm.
Parents. Where they at? Actually, there was a report that she had some issues, with her mum. They had a kind of, friction in their relationship. And obviously, I'm sure that's where it stemmed from. But also, it was said also that she used to be on Instagram as soon as she wakes up. Instagram, comparing herself to other girls, I'm sure. Looking at, the whole things that, young girls sometimes go through in terms of the looks, makeup, how people dress, comparing, all these things. So obviously there was, I'm sure, some major issues in that regard. But parents, though, like you need to get into that, union with your kids, man, because this is crazy. It can't get to a point where, you're having to have this issue be at a point where you're just none the wiser about what your kid is really thinking in terms of just how they think about, where they are in their life at certain ages, especially those, developmental ages. So yeah, man, when I heard this, I thought this is crazy because I'm from a certain age group where social media, I didn't grow up with it being, the main thing. So yeah, man, it's crazy. But let's play the rest of it.
Wow, it's really sobering to hear that. Tell us what's next, Dara, in this trial, and how much of a precedent does this set for other cases?
Right. So this trial is the first of probably 24 bellwether cases, and it also is representing more than 2,000 plaintiffs. So it's huge, and it's really important because it's the first one. So what happens with this trial will likely set precedent for what these other upcoming trials will happen, or we'll see how juries will react and how judges will react. So it's like hard to overstate how big this is. And if the jurors decide in favor of the plaintiff of KGM, this could have big repercussions for the social media companies financially, and both maybe having to change the way they create their products.
Certainly, this is such a highly watched case. Dara Kerr, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
But even for adults, it can be addictive as well, I'm sure, because if you're on social media for a certain amount of years, you see the way it's been developed over the years in terms of, for example, Instagram. You see the way you can now just easily scroll and see so many things. You've got the reels that you can just click. And they've organized it in such a way that you can swipe and go to a whole nother page that you can even swipe by accident a bit more and you're on some next page. But with kids, that's where the parents have to come in, because this is a sign to me of the parent is not really involved as much. And like I say, there was a report, or a part of this report was alluding to she had some issues when she was younger with her mum. She wanted to commit suicide at one point, and I think maybe social media has just exasperated, the issues that she has about her self-esteem and obviously the relationship with her mum, which is unfortunate. But it's one of those ones where, as I was alluding to earlier, when you're of a certain age group, you didn't have social media being the main thing. And that was me. I didn't have social media being the main thing that I grew up around. It was just something that came when I was of a certain, age, which obviously is a benefit, I would say, because it's at a point where some people are just on it every time they can get a chance. If you're working lunch break, coming home from work, train or wherever you take, bus, driving, sometimes you're checking the pictures, the way everything is all situated. It does have that ability to lock you in, but it has to be a choice where the parent has to say, hey, there's a time for these things. Explain to them about what's realistic. Explain to them about all the things about filters, Photoshop, all the things that you can do to enhance a picture, to give an illusion of something which is not actually there. So these are the things that parents need to impart into children, because at the end of the day, this can be prevented and mitigated if parents are, doing what's required, giving them insight, giving them understanding about what is important. Yes, they can go on socials, but at the same time, giving them a limit. You shouldn't be able to wake up, have your phone next to you, and be able to do that, and just go straight on it, and that's it. Back in my time, we couldn't just go on the game for hours on end. Your mum, your dad would be like, hey, you've played the game too enough. That's enough. Get off the game. You played it enough. So there has to be some kind of like understanding there. I know things have developed over the years. They've got kids today. I've got so many chances at being distracted, but there has to be the intervention from parents where, these things are minimized, because from 6, I believe they said, she was on platforms like YouTube, and I'm sure you're on that for hours. Then you go on to TikTok, which they said settled for her as well. They gave her, I'm sure a decent amount to just say, hey, look, we don't want to go into this whole long-winded battle with you. I'm just going to give you some money. Yes, they probably thought, it wasn't one of those situations where they think that they were responsible for it. These platforms will never think they have any responsibility. They will always just think we have a platform and it's what people have taken to, they've gravitated to it. But there's also a duty in terms of what is on there, I think, and how things are positioned. But most importantly, it's parenting, because anything can be out there. Doesn't matter what's in this world. It just depends how, you parent. But it's unfortunate. Hopefully, this may be something that it wakes people up a little bit, especially when it comes to, young people, man, and how they think. There has to be some learning curves, and stop looking at life from the angle of social media, which, again, people are putting on their best to look a certain way and to appear that they're doing things and keeping up with the Joneses, which, in my opinion, the average person generally is just the average person. And the average person in this world are the majority. So once you start, giving guidance to the youth about what's real and what's not, and what you should be actually doing once you're at a certain age group, it will help, looking at things from a logical, realistic standpoint as opposed to a superficial one. Because, yeah, this is bad, man. It's unfortunate, but it will be interesting to find out what people think. Like the video, and what do you think? Do you think something like this makes sense to be able to actually happen with a child when they have their parent involved in their life? Should this be a thing? Should parents be more, focused now on making sure that they're clamping down on things like this potentially happening? Because now there's so many, things that are involved. A lot of the time you see kids on their phone, and as long as they're on their phone being quiet and they're not disturbing parents sometimes can be fine with that. And that's a problem. The time that they're on these kinds of, apps and being in these environments. But yeah, let me know what you guys think.